boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of M. Night Shyamalan's new psychological thriller, Trapped, which stars Josh Hartnett in the leading role. And the plot of this film, it follows a serial killer evading a police blockade while attending a concert with his young daughter. This film caught my attention on a lot of fronts. Number one is M. Night Shyamalan. It's hit or miss with Mr. Shyamalan. We know that he can either give you greatness like The Sixth Sense or Split or Signs or even Unbreakable, or he can give you the worst, a la After Earth or The Happening or The Last Airbender. And he can also give you everything in between, which is pretty good films. And he has just the biggest range as a filmmaker. It's amazing to me. It's amazing because no matter what, you're going to risk it when it comes to M. Night Shyamalan, because you don't know. You don't know if you're going to get a cinematic classic or you're going to get a flop, something that you're going to walk out the theater wanting your money back. It's a flip of a coin when you go see one of his films. And this is the year of Shyamalan's. Earlier this year, we got The Watchers from his daughter in her directorial debut, which I don't even know how to quantify that film, to be honest with you. It's not horrible, but it's probably the most forgettable film that I've seen this year because I couldn't tell you anything about that movie, and I watched it. I just can't tell you one thing about that film. And also his daughter, his other daughter, is in this film, which I guess she's like the co-lead of this movie, who is the pop star in this film, Lady Raven. And it's like, man, this is nepotism city here. This is the year he's gonna put his daughters. And look, I get it. I got daughters. I have children. If I have a platform that I can place them on, I'm probably gonna put my children on it. If they're worthy of the honor. And his children do have talent, so I can't knock him for that. But as far as this film is concerned, which is why you're here to hear about Trap, as I said to start it off, very interesting concept. Is a concept that you would normally see a hero, a protagonist in this claustrophobic type situation, trapped in this inescapable building or whatever the case may be. And that's the twist. The twist is it's the villain who is trapped in this claustrophobic situation and trying to devise ways to get out of this situation with his daughter. And I'm like, okay, that's a new take on it. Let's see how this goes. And with M. Night Shyamalan, for better or worse, he knows thrillers. He knows how to film these heightened situations. So, all right, let's see how this plays out. We have Josh Hartnett as the lead character, Cooper, who is the serial killer. No spoilers here. We know this from the trailers. We know this from all the promotional material. He is the serial killer in this film. And Josh Hartnett, who I don't know what happened for the past 15 years, maybe 10, 15 years, that he's kind of disappeared from Hollywood, because for a while he was the bee's knees, man. I mean, I really liked Josh Hartnett coming up. At one point he was considered for the role of Superman, Clark Kent, early on in his career, of course. And I was all for it because he had the look, he had the skills, I thought, to pull that role off. But ultimately he declined to take that role. But recently we saw him pop up in Oppenheimer in a supporting role, and he did an excellent job in that film. He was one of the best performances in that film. He was just overshadowed by the the Academy Award winners that was in that movie, Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. But he comes in third, in my humble opinion, as far as performances in Oppenheimer. Really loved him. Really showed that he is a really good actor. Showed the world. I already knew, but he showed the world. And this was his leading film. His, I guess you could say, comeback film. Show that he can be the lead of a film, and he does show it here. He's not the problem with this film. This film has a lot of problems, but he's not the problem. Josh Hartnett did an excellent job as this serial killer, as this dad, as this wild animal trapped in this situation, and all played within his eyes. Whenever he had to emote and actually act, he was perfect. He was great. I mean, this is one of the better performances you're going to see. Unfortunately, he had to do all that while trying to give this dialogue written by M. Night Shyamalan that was just ridiculous. The dialogue in this film was so bad. It's some of the lines that he had to do it, not just him, but the entire cast who had speaking lines in this movie. It was, what? Who wrote this? I can't believe he wrote this. This can't be the same guy who wrote The Sixth Sense. This can't be the same guy who wrote Split and Unbreakable and so on and so forth. But yes, it is. At times throughout this film, it feels like this film was written by Chat AI or GPT, whatever it is. It just felt AI written. The dialogue was just cookie cutter, and it didn't help the story. You had characters in this film that didn't help the movie at all. That just had no place in this movie at all. Kid Cudi. If you're if you're a fan of hip hop and rap, you know who Kid Cudi is. And Kid Cudi is a good actor. He's been in some shows and some movies that really shocked me because I wasn't expecting him to be good in them, but he was good in them. I'm like, okay, Kid Cudi can act. Not in this movie. It was like he was just given a wig and and told to go out there and just make something up. And that's what it looked like, felt like, and that's what we got. Completely unnecessary character. Completely unnecessary. The t-shirt vendor in this film, who we see in the trailer, he knows way too much information to be selling t-shirts at this concert. If he was a plant, he was a plant. But it was just like, man, come on, man, this is ridiculous. To get this information out through that character. It was just silly to me. It was cool to see Haley Mills in this film as the FBI profiler, and it was a cute little Easter egg. In case you don't know, if you're old enough to remember, Haley Mills starred in the original Parent Trap. She played the twins in the old Disney film from the 50s, I think, 50s or 60s, whenever it came out. But yes, that was Haley Mills, and I thought that was cute. That she starred in the Parent Trap. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. To see her still working here. But that was it. That was only that was it about her character. It was cool, but whatever. The rest of the film, it played out all nice. It had parts in this film where the tension was a little heightened. There were scenes where Josh Hartnett had to get out of certain situations that he put himself in to try to find out information about this so-called trap that was laid out for him. It was cool, but at the same time, it felt kind of weird because he was free to move about the auditorium or the stadium, whatever this concert was being held at. It was just weird, and nobody questioned him. I mean, a couple of times it was, oh, let me see your ID, stuff like that. But it was willy nilly. You're there for this serial killer of anybody who acts suspicious, and he clearly is the only one in this whole auditorium acting suspicious. And nobody thought, like, you know what? Maybe he's the guy. It was just weird in that aspect of it. But overall, the film was what it was. I went into it with zero expectations, other than the fact to see what kind of twist we're gonna get at the end of this film, because it's of course M. Night Shyamalan. But ultimately, there really wasn't a twist. It was just a straightforward psychological thriller, and that's fine. It is cool, but that's that. It was no more, no less. I think this would have shined 20 years ago. This probably would have been an amazing feat in filmmaking 20 years ago, because honestly, it is something original, something that a lot of people are clamoring for. Originality. It is original. It is entertaining at times. It was just basic. It was paint by numbers, I felt. And I guess if I did have an expectation, it was for Josh Hartnett to really put him back on the A-list in Hollywood, for him to go out for bigger, meatier roles. And for the most part, that was accomplished. I think it really showcased his acting ability here, because there was a lot that he had to pull off. There was a lot of mask, if for lack of a better term, that he had to wear throughout this film. He had to be a father, he had to be a serial killer, he had to be just this Joe Blow. Acting wise, you could see behind his eyes that there was something else going on than what he was showing the fellow co-stars in the film. So he did his job. So I'm happy about that. But as far as the film, it was what it was. Not the greatest M. Night Shyamalan film, but it's not the worst either. I will put it in the middle of the pack. Trapped, which is currently in theaters, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, gets a letter grade of a C-. It was all right. Nothing I would run to the theater to see again. You probably feel trapped watching it at times, but it was all right. I'll just say that. All right. But I would love to know what you think about Trapped. Did you think it was good? Do you think it's one of M. Night Shyamalan's best or his worst? I would love to know your opinions. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Subscribe and like this video on YouTube when you search for the KB Radio Network channel. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Concession Stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.